I'm Mike. I'm bad at cooking. Today I'm going to be finishing up the whole beef tenderloin breakdown series. I'm going to be preparing polenta to be served with the roast once it's cut up. I've never made polenta before, and as far as I can tell, it is wet cornbread. Let's get to it. Done talking. Polenta, as it turns out, is pretty simple. It's water and corn. I've got yellow stone ground cornmeal. I'm not even 100% sure that this is going to work. This is paper. This is a paper bag that I'm struggling to open. Good job, Mike. Excellent job. So into our pot, we're putting 5 cups of water. Already measured it out. Unless you are an Italian grandmother, it is in your best interest to simply add the corn product to the water and then bring everything to a boil. The other method is bringing the water to a boil and slowly adding in cornmeal bit by bit to prevent clumping. That doesn't sound like fun to me, so I'm going to do it this way. 5 cups water. I'm adding roughly 1 cup of this stone ground cornmeal. Perfect. No lumps. It's a corn slurry right now. So I'm gonna bring this up to a boil, then turn this down, and then the fun part of cooking polenta begins. Waiting. So cool. It smells pretty good. It's throwing corn all over the place. Be a smart boy and put a lid on it. An arbitrary amount of butter. I think that looks good. Corn glue. We're definitely on the right track. There's a lot of material on the sides of the pot here, so I'm gonna go get my rubber spatula so I can scrape that down so I don't waste it. See, it doesn't matter. No one cares. Throw the whole stick of butter with the wax paper on it in there. Salted, unsalted butter. Doesn't matter, we're gonna salt it anyway. And don't be afraid to scrape all the dry corn confetti, all the dried corn confetti off the sides, right back into the polenta. I will let you know if that was a mistake. I'm also going to add a hefty pinch of shredded Parmesan cheese in here. I wanted to go with feta. I don't have any. It's quite good. This is where I'm salt and peppering to taste. Once I'm done, of course, choking on absolutely nothing. I was honestly expecting this to be bland at best, and it's definitely mild, but it's a pleasant alternative to mashed potatoes. And this is roughly the consistency I have on it now, which I think I'm gonna leave it on the heat for a bit longer, just to try to thicken it up a tad. Beautiful. I think that's done. I'm gonna grab a bowl and slop it in. I think it wants to be a little bit thicker than this. It's a lot of starch, so it's going to need a lot of salt. Since this roast has been sitting in the fridge for an unfortunate amount of time, and honestly, the other roast spoiled. I had opened it a few days ago to check on it. This one hasn't been opened, so it's still sealed from the sous vide or whatever, but always double check. If it smells weird, don't eat it. This just smells to me to be beefy. And that is, of course, what we want. We've got the sous vide bag juice in the small pan here, and it is just heating up, coming up to a bit of a boil. You're going to see some foamy crab. What it is just, if you were cooking this roast in a roasting pan in the oven, instead of sous vide, you would have drips. It would drip. It would be getting brown on the outside, and you would have the little drips. Those little drips contain protein. When you cook sous vide, those proteins don't go anywhere. They just stay in the liquid. So it's just like an extra meaty part of the sauce. So a whisk should be able to break those down fairly nicely. I'm gonna put about half a tablespoon of butter in this. This should help to, I guess, emulsify the liquid into a real sauce instead of it just being gross brown water with floaty protein boys in it. See what we have here? All these little bits. Those are the proteins that, in a roasting pan on the stovetop, they would be the little brown bits that are left in the pan after you cook, that you would deglaze and turn into a sauce. Here we're kind of just dealing with the opposite situation. I'm trying to brutally whisk this to aerate it, to try to emulsify it. If I'm even using the word emulsify correctly, I've got some fats and some protein, so I think technically you can make an emulsion, but really I'd have to Google that. This is 100% an experiment right now. All right, that is done as far as I'm concerned. Again, it's still got all these weird little bits down at the bottom, but I'm going to try it. We'll see how it is. Hopefully that doesn't burn my table. Next up is searing this roast. I'm going to use the torch, little salt, torch it, little pepper. Before I do that though, I'm gonna chuck some freezer broccoli into the microwave, and I'll be right back. Oh yeah. Really shouldn't be doing this on a wood surface, like at all. All done. Make sure your stuff's cool before you put it in a very flimsy plastic box. So this isn't the bright color that you would normally want to see out of a tenderloin roast. But again, we're just doing stuff. It spent an inordinate amount of time in the fridge, but let's see how it tastes. Tastes like beef, very tender. I will not complain. Doesn't suffer any adverse effects for it almost being beef ham, just due to how long it was sitting in its own kind of salty juices in the fridge. This is absolutely falling apart though. Here's a better look at that sauce. I just gave it a taste. It's really not that bad. Not great, but it's not bad. Freezer broccoli. Champion of vegetables. Some fresh cracks of pepper. Normally I like to finish the broccoli off in a skillet or roast it in the oven, but I'm impatient. Brittany's impatient, so perfect. It's just enough to get a little bit of color on them. All right, time to eat this. Polenta is really good. It's really good. Highly advisable.